I believe I have fixed it.
Yeah, I got the thing. We're being live streamed.
So we're doing the naked news tonight.
No, we're never doing anything like that. Have you seen us?
I'm a steaming bowl of man chowder. I don't know about you.
Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode, I need to sign back in, 350 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live. I deleted all my browser cookies on the internet. We're recording on May 23rd, 2022. As always, my name is Andrew, and I'll be your host.
We need your help to support the show. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right.
I have successfully signed back into the show notes. And that brings us to my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? And one item that you've done from the Patriot Challenge. It's where I ask my co-conspirators what they're drinking. I'm going to start with Gavin. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the remaining Bush beers from the deck rebuilding the other week. There's only 3 left, and I will consume them all this evening. Nice. And thing that I did for the Patriot Challenge, other than drinking a copious amount of Bush, I did my reading today. I'm currently reading the entire written collection of Conan the Barbarian. It is not good. The movie
that's
is
too bad.
Much better.
I was super excited there for a moment.
Yeah, I was too. I was like, man, I've always wanted to read this series, and I mean, I've committed to it now, so hopefully it gets a lot better. But the first book was kind of a dud. Only 20-something more hours of reading to go.
Well, I have a completely unrelated suggestion. If you're looking for another fiction book, last summer, I crushed all of the Jack Carr novels. I think it's 1 through 4. It's the Terminal List and then like the 3 sequels. The next book in the series just came out, and the Amazon videos come out the 1st of July, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Chris Pratt is playing the lead character. If you if you're looking for something to read, because I killed all of those in a 2-week work trip.
Well, there you go. I will have to add those to the stack, but I guess live and learn. Benny, what are you drinking, and what have you done for the Patriot Challenge?
I'm drinking the PC Honey Red, if it can not be blurred, tonight. And I signed up, I think it was last week, I signed up for an EMR course, so Emergency Medical Responder course. Nice. So upping that med response. And yeah. Pierre, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking whiskey. And this week I successfully passed my written and physical according to the government, so I can drive for a living with what I've been doing for a while, but I've got a government stamp on it, so that means I'm a lot better now. I got my written test a practical test in a week and a half, so I get to go drive around with a trailer with someone sitting next to me saying that, I didn't kill anybody or do anything. So when the zombie apocalypse happens, I can drive recklessly with the trailer and I still get a stamp of approval from the government.
Perfect.
Yes. Andrew, what about you?
I am drinking Bayside Brewing Company's Honey Cream Ale. It has a picture of a fish and a bicycle. I'm not sure if those are in any way related.
Well, how many times have you gone fishing where you thought you had a fish and caught a bite?
0.
None? Yeah.
0 times. I'm not much of an angler.
You haven't fished enough, apparently.
I should probably fish more. Fishing is a skill I should work on developing. But this past weekend, I worked on developing my long range shooting skills with a .22. I took home the first place production medal at the East Elgin Sportsmen's Association Canadian Rimfire Precision Series match. I'm number 1, baby. Number 1. I got another gong for the collection. And I had a great time with a bunch of really good shooters. And for people in Southern Ontario, you probably, if you shot CPRS, you know John and a couple of those other really good shooters who I find it very humbling to shoot next to, which is why I stay over in production where I can do well.
Yeah.
Upcoming events. The only thing I'm going to mention this week is this is the week of Rasul. If you're listening to this, hopefully you're out rocking.
Yeah. But like
And if
Thursday,
you're
Friday,
not
Saturday,
yet-
Sunday, don't start yet.
If you're not yet, go on Discord and coordinate on our show Discord server. We have our Discord. The link is in the show notes. If you can't find it, email it to feedback at Canadian Patriot Podcast, and Andrew will open ticket, close ticket, and get you squared away on how to access Discord. But organize yourselves into some sort of an organization. Make sure you're signing up for Team Ragnarok on Rasul so that we get credit as the largest international team and we can beat those stinking Germans.
And just to clarify, this challenge is happening during the day of my birthday, and I still plan on participating. So you have no excuse.
Well, there you go.
I mean, that really is no excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how far I'm going to make it that intoxicated, but it's for
Try doing the walk before the drinking, because then you'll have to drink less to get to the level of intoxication that one is required to do on their birthday. It'll save you some money. It's like a little birthday gift to yourself.
sure.
Or you could just be a lightweight like me.
It's true.
Yeah. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
And there is no listener feedback this week. And I should have clarified how we were doing that handover so it was less awkward, but live and learn.
Yeah.
If you have seen the news recently, you probably heard that Ontario had extreme winds and rains for a few minutes on Saturday. Depending on where you are in Ontario, Southern Ontario, from, say, Windsor to Ottawa,
Yes.
you may or may not have had lightning strikes or tornadoes or had your roof ripped off of your buildings.
Buildings have collapsed.
Not to make
Trees.
light of the situation, because there were people that were killed as a result of this, but somehow not a single politician was injured.
Yeah. Not one.
And that's the real tragedy.
Tragic. Yeah.
So we should have more hemp and oak grown.
Yes, I did not notice any downed oak trees, but
Yes.
we do need more oak trees.
Yes.
I saw.
But I was-
It was interesting. It was interesting to see how many root bulbs were ripped up on my way back into London today. They were just
Root
entire.
bulbs?
Yeah, like it's called the root bulb, the bottom of the tree. The
Oh,
whole tree was like just ripped. Where,
Kind
just
of like the
over.
microphone.
not unlike Benny's microphone,
like
and
the
just fell
microphone.
right over.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see, like, talking with everyone over the last couple of days while this is going on, like where I am, just outside of the big city.
The gooch.
Oh,
Um,
butthole. I live in
The butthole.
Yes.
Right.
So like just outside of Toronto, where I am, like there was definitely a giant gust of wind. And there's been some, small tree branches and stuff that were knocked down, but like that was about the extent of it for me. Is I had one massive gust of wind that like slammed some garbage cans around into my neighbor's vehicle, which fuck them because they're kind of a-holes. And then it just like it pissed rain for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then that was it. And it was all said and done.
As mentioned, I was shooting a match, and of course, it was about my turn to shoot when it started to get dark and start to rain. So I put all my Gore-Tex on with the intention of like, I'm a winner and fuck all you, and went and shot a 9 out of 10 on that stage in the downpour, which lasted all of 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But also hearing from a lot of people, there was a lot of power outages and a lot of other problems. And I came home and everything was fine. I checked on my phone and all my stuff reported that it was okay, because we have the whole like spy devices throughout the house that tell me if the computer things are all on and if I can turn my lights on and off remotely or not and all of that stuff. And it was all happy and looked fine. So I kept shooting the match and came home and everything was good. And today I had one bag of yard waste of stuff that fell out of the tree.
Yeah. But you were shooting the match on the east side of London, more or less.
That's correct, in Elmer, Ontario.
Talking to friends of ours that live on the west side of London. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was definitely now,
but like it's just funny
I was in the lucky spot of like where I was just some rain, and where my house is had no power outages. But I seem to be the exception to that in Southern Ontario rather than the rule.
Yeah, because I mean, the other side of London sounds like it got hit real bad. I mean, they were saying like what, 9 telephone or power lines down on their street alone.
Yeah, and I was thinking we might go around and steal a little bit from Copycat CPP and talk about things that you were prepared in or not, since Pierre, you were without power for over a day?
Yeah, I got power last night. So I lost power. So I was smart. I did some yard work around on Friday. I don't work Fridays. So I was like, hey, let's get some stuff done and everything. And then I said, hey, weather's about to get real shitty. And I was like, oh, fuck it. Let's drive to Ottawa and do some groceries. So me and the daughter went to Ottawa. And it kind of worked out because me and the daughter drove and we hit about a minute of rain. And after that, we were clear, but we had just missed the gusts and whatever Stormageddon we were having, because there were trees all over the highway, hydro lines knocked over. And I mean, like the big steel hydro lines that have like 6-7 power lines on them. It literally looked like a giant walked by and stomped on it. You couldn't see it. It was flush to the ground. So we did the groceries, came home. We had no power. Following day had no power. So I mean, like, okay, drag the generator out after a little while and, plug the few freezers, fridges we had, and take the propane stove out. And we cooked on the barbecue on the propane stove, and we always have stuff pre-downloaded on Netflix and all that stuff. So we were sitting in the backyard with the generator, keeping all the food cold, and watching stuff on a projector in the backyard. So I mean, we were kind of living like kings compared to no power outage. Yeah, we got power back last night at say almost 9 o'clock. So I mean, we were out of power for a day and a half. And I mean, we make do. I just felt like I was at the hunk camp, but with a flushable toilet. So for a day and a half.
Sometimes that's all you really need to make
that. Like, it's a flushable toilet is better than an outhouse, in my opinion. But it was no different than anything else. So yeah, I mean, we made do. Seems like most people survived around where we were, but I know people that are still out without power and not planning to get power for another day or two because of the catastrophic that happened. So only thing I learned from this is need to have a few more things downloaded just in case. And that I'm good.
So can't stream things from Pornhub when the internet's out.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm still trying to figure out that torrent to download everything. I mean, yes. What?
We would never condone internet piracy.
No. I was saying, like, you gotta make sure all the videos are downloaded in advance in case you don't have enough power to run your TV and your DVD player.
Yeah.
So they have pirate porn, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yar. I mean, also just I was making an off-color joke. Stop. Yeah. Just stop watching pornography. You shouldn't do that. I was making an off-color joke.
But yeah, so that's all I have to say with it. I had a generator. We were able to run the fridge, freezer. Keep our food. I know some people, ads going around, or people complaining that they were unprepared for a scenario of this and they lost $1,000, $2,000 worth of food. But thankfully, my $2,000-$3,000 of stock of food and out of the fridge and freezers were a-okay because I was smart and I bought a generator. So I'm good. Sucks to be done.
Okay.
I practiced on my generator today. I have a dual fuel propane gas generator.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure how to read it because it has 4 different wattage things, but it's like a 4,500 watt generator or 3,600 watt generator. I'm not sure if. Do you read the starting or the running votes?
So it's the running. So the peak wattage or your start means that like on startup it'll like. So a lot of it has to do with like air conditioners and heaters and stuff like that. Where like on startup of the air conditioner to get the compressor and everything going, you're going to need a lot more wattage than when it's actually running.
Right, to get the starting motor. So like the compressor in my refrigerator has a big starting draw because it's running the compressor motor, but that doesn't take very much. Like once it goes, there's like a big peak that it comes off of, but there's a big load to get it going initially, right?
Yeah. So that's your startup, and then your continuous, your running.
That's the difference. I'm not sure how you read it because it's like propane and gasoline have different amounts, but like whatever, call it like 3,500 watts for simplicity's sake.
Yeah.
So I went out and serviced it today because it was on my quarterly to-do checklist was to like run it for 15 minutes and make sure the oil was in good shape and everything. And I hadn't done that yet this quarter. So I figured, you know what? Today's a good day to do that just in case.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
See, so I have a whisper quiet one because I have a tow long camper, and depending where I mostly go to like Groundland where I can like just load up all the guns and like go shoot all day. So it's quiet. So it was nice to not have something loud next to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, just check it out. Good.
But that's also what long extension cords are for. So you can put it next to your neighbor's house and not yours.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I need to work on. I was going to loan my generator to someone who still was without power after a day, and my longest extension cord is 25 feet because that's how far it is from my garage to my kitchen. That is not how far it is from his garage to his freezer in his basement.
Always keep an eye out.
That's a him problem.
Yes, but that could be a me problem if I wanted to run something in the basement, which is not a thing that I've addressed. So I got a sale alert on for Canadian Tire, so I get some Canadian Tire dollars the next time there's a 100-foot extension cord sale.
Yeah, and like that's the thing you need to look into. You don't have to go top quality for extension cords, but you do need to buy maybe not your cheapest options at like dollar store qualities, but like finding that in between on a good sale for reliability that you don't need to worry about.
Well, that's why I figure like if I go to Canadian Tire and get like the heavy duty 100-foot extension cord, it'll be pricey, but if I buy it on sale,
for sure. All I gathered from all this is like, okay, so it took me like all of like 2 minutes to start my generator instead of like the 6 seconds because I got to push button auto starter because it hadn't been started since the fall when I drained the oil, cleaned everything. But excuse me.
If only there was a mute button. Oh God, he's still going.
Yeah, but I gotta find the mute button. My mouse is all fucked up.
It's hard to see when you sneeze and you close your eyes. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's fair. So I think, a couple of little small, nothing that would cause me to have any end of the world thing. The other thing that I talked to my wife about, I think I want a chainsaw.
Yes.
The question is, do I keep the chainsaw in the truck? Because coming home, there was a down tree that was just being removed from my path as I was getting there. And had that tree been in the way, I have no idea where I would have gone, how many concessions I would have had to go out of my way to get home. Because I was like in the middle of nowhere.
But you're also putting a lot of trust in people that if you were to park on the side of the road and do anything, that they wouldn't hit you or your truck.
I mean, that's also a consideration. But also, I kind of want a chainsaw because it sounds like fun.
Oh, they're a lot of fun.
They're handy, and like in a situation like this, it is definitely one of those things where it's invaluable, right? Like tree down on the road, even if you're in a big truck, it's like, well, I can't get around the tree, so But if you can, limit and cut it down into pieces, you could drag it out of the way and, be on your way.
Well, I have some of the things I could do that with. Like I have tow straps in the truck, so I could probably drag it out of the way.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when it's smaller, though, right?
Right. Well, that was what I was thinking. But then I have to do I drive around with a chainsaw in my truck? And I feel like the answer to that is just yes.
Yeah.
100%. Buy 2, keep one still in the box as a backup. That's my advice.
Well, I mean, 1 is none and 2 is 1. So
that applies. That's not.
No,
that's not applies. 2 of the same thing. That's 2 things that do the same job. So what I need is like a chainsaw and a guy that knows how to use a chainsaw.
Oh, that's easy.
It's still
where to get a chainsaw.
Where to get? Yeah, because I was gonna say there's still one chainsaw.
All I'm gonna say with chainsaws, as stupid as people think they look, buy chaps.
Oh yeah, no,
like no answer for us.
Now we're adding a lot of stuff to my truck. I don't know how big you think my truck is, but
not like woolly chaps for shooting cowboy action. Chainsaw chaps. Don't worry, they don't take up a whole lot of space.
They fold small. I know people that have used chainsaws for years and be like, "No, I'm good." And like, man, it doesn't take much for a chainsaw to like get back.
You don't want to need your.
Don't. I'd hate for you to buy a chainsaw and have to use tourniquets.
Yeah.
My chaps.
Well,
use the chaps.
I mean that's fair. I think I am. Yeah. I am probably going to look at a chainsaw, and because I recently purchased a very nice Husqvarna hatchet, I feel like my chainsaw should match.
Yeah. I can get you one of those helmets that you can wear with it with the face.
Beautiful.
Screen.
I would love a helmet with a face screen to go with my woolly chaps.
And Bluetooth headphones?
No, they're just regular headphones.
But
it's an all-in-one. Like they're attached to the bucket, so you're good to go.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, we might have to look into getting me a chainsaw and chainsaw accessories, because that was another one of those, like, I probably don't need it, but there's been a couple of times where somebody's been like, I need help with this, and given me a chainsaw and like expected me to know how to use it.
Yeah, they're fun. They're lots of fun.
Yeah, they're not difficult.
Sure, they are. And
I'm not
with some instruction, I'm sure I'd be just fine with it. But I was also like, well, I've been drinking, and this seems like a bad idea, so I'm going to go sit back down now.
Yeah, the drinking is after the chainsaw.
Well, it's like for every two refills of gas, you got to refill the oil or something. Am I right, or something like that?
Oh, I know it's
so. Well, it's a 2-stroke engine, right?
Yeah. Most of them are 2 strokes. Yeah, so it's pre-mixed. Pour it right in. 40,
so like
50,
as you're running it, it is burning both the oil and the gas.
Yeah, which is why it smells fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the smell.
Super clean running.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to look into a little chainsaw.
Well, not too small. Like you want like at least a 16-inch bar.
A reasonably sized chainsaw.
Couldn't you just get the largest engine and then just put a smaller?
You know what, Andrew? You should look at a 350 small block on the end of a chainsaw.
You need to have a big.
I don't know a lot about engines, but that sounds like something I'd put in a car.
Yeah.
Well, not like me personally, but that someone might put in a car.
Yeah, so you need a large enough engine on the saw to power the chain through the thing that you're cutting. But as long as your engine is big enough, it might just slow down a little. But the biggest thing is that you need the right size bar. And so,
man, I'd love to go to the bar.
Yeah, with like a 16-inch bar, you can cut a tree that's double that, right? Because you cut one side and then the other. But like if you've only got like a little 12-inch bar, you can't really cut a whole lot.
Aside from my desire to spend money on tools that I don't have a great use for, which, I mean, chainsaw that's going to live in my truck is probably my next purchase now. Did we learn anything else from the Stormageddon of the century?
People are idiots.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like us personally, we already assume people are idiots.
I mean, I didn't really, other than that, because I mean, I didn't really have anything happen at my house other than like, I appreciate our friend group. So you're your mag, if you will, stealing from, you know, the other CPP, your mutual assistance group. When I got the call from our friend that lives down the road going, there's a big storm coming your way, our power just flickered off, just to give you a heads up, I went outside and like moved some things under my deck so they wouldn't get rained on.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah. If you
Only
get
thing-
some warning and you do some stuff in advance, you may save yourself some headaches down the road.
Only thing I learned from this was like download more episodes that you're more interested to watch when you want to plug your projector in on the side of your house. Because it was like, I don't really want to watch this, but there was nothing else to watch because where I live, I don't even have cell reception. So my internet was out. I couldn't make phone calls. I couldn't send texts. I couldn't, which I'm okay with. I deal with a regular.
What did that one guy in town that you know have to say about all of this?
I don't know. I didn't have cell reception. Right. So
I'm so used to being without power. Like to have a library of books.
Yeah.
A couple shelves of games to play.
Yeah. So I realized I need more AAA batteries because I have, for some reason, an abundance of AA batteries, even though a lot of my headlights, flashlights, whatever, all take AAAs. And also going to someone's house and looking through my daily carry bag that I take from vehicle to vehicle. I have, 20 AA battery, or no, not 20. I have 14, 15 AA batteries. And I'm like, wow, the only thing that takes a AA battery is the backup Bofang radio pack. But I'm like, everything else I have flashlight in my pocket 24/7, headlight in my bag, headlight everywhere in the house, flashlights everywhere. They all take AAAs. So it's like, I have an abundance, well, not that much anymore, but I was like, I do have AAAs, but I was like, I have way more AAs than I need. So I need to stock up on more AAAs. But that's all I noticed.
Okay. I mean, that's a good thing to notice, though.
Yeah.
Think I'm gonna buy a chainsaw.
Do it.
Completely unrelated to my desire to own a 2-stroke engine with a 16-inch bar on it. Let's talk about the Ontario election.
Although I do believe that 2-stroke 16-inch bar could potentially solve a lot of issues.
Well, I mean, going from
completely
firewood,
unrelated.
Yeah, going from cutting firewood to a dumpster fire, totally different.
Allow me to make you a chord of promises.
Allow me to talk logic to this stupidity.
Well, let's talk about the Ontario election. The Ontario election is coming up, and the promises from the Liberal Party have been hot and heavy and full of lies, but
water is also wet. Yeah.
Yes, and other euphemisms.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of things in the news, quick, and we can talk about election predictions, and maybe you guys can tell me which way I should vote. Ontario Liberals pledged to remove HST from prepared food under $20. This is in the Ottawa Citizen from the end of April. This was the first story I noticed when they started doing the election pandering, which is why it's still in the show stack. So the talking penis, I mean, the Liberal leader, Stephen Del Duca, you can't tell me that guy does not look like a penis with legs, though.
Yeah.
You see it. You know you do.
Certainly acts like
if
one.
you don't, you do now.
Oh, the internet Colt on YouTube says Del Duca looks like a turtle.
Same difference. It depends on whether it's snipped or not.
Well, I think his name is Del Duca. I'm not sure. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe the internet has it wrong. But I'm gonna looks not unlike a phallus. So, HST being removed from prepared food under $20, which would be an increase from the current $4 limit.
Well, but this is one of those things that, like honestly, is this going to actually help anyone? So you're not going to pay tax on prepared foods under $20. But like, have you been to McDonald's lately and tried to buy anything that's under $20?
Well, and this is the thing. I don't think it's going to make a huge deal of difference. But the government, I shouldn't call them the government. The Liberal Party says that this will have an impact of $500 million a year in revenue, and to make up for this, they're going to tax the wealthy, and by that I mean everyone else.
Yeah.
Surcharge on companies operating in Ontario whose profits exceed $1 billion, which means those companies will consider leaving Ontario. That surtax will generate $150 million a year. And they're also going to implement a 2% income tax increase on individuals earning more than $500,000 a year. This creates a new tax bracket, and it would affect 0.2% of Ontarians and generate $350 million in annual revenue. That sounds like a lot of money to me. Like, that's a lot of money. So 2/10 of the population of the province is going to result in a $350 million increase in government revenues in taxes?
Well, and this is the thing. This
that's a lot of money.
So you're going to implement a new rule or regulation that has no real benefit to anyone, because no one is going to be avoiding paying the tax on prepared foods because the cost of everything has gone up.
Well,
but then to compensate what little money the government is going to lose on this, they're going to penalize a bunch of other people. So nobody benefits, and a bunch of people get penalized and have to pay more of their hard-earned money and potentially drive those people out of the province.
Well, and I think that's going to be where... of course it's a PR move. It's election pandering. That's what this whole thing is election pandering. My point comes back to, if you're going to tax profitable businesses and the people that are likely running those businesses, individuals earning more than $500,000 a year in salaries, if I were those people, I would strongly consider leaving this shitty province.
So out of all this, so if I was a business owner and I decided to...
You are a business owner, but go on.
Yes, but more towards this thing, right? So I decide that I prepare food for under $20 a person or meal or whatever. So does this tax credit apply to business owners or
no? It has to do with how the HST is being collected.
As a business owner,
so you won't have to charge the HST to your customer when you sell them a prepared food item that costs $19.99 or less.
So, as an example, take a thought exercise as I smash my microphone with my right hand.
Okay.
You have rotisserie chickens in your deli. You're a deli owner. You have rotisserie chickens. Rotisserie chicken is an example of a prepared food item. You sell your rotisserie chicken right now for $18 a rotisserie chicken. I don't know if that's the current price. It seems reasonable based on what I saw.
It seems a little high, but due to inflation,
it's a really good rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, the best.
Okay. Right now, if you sell that and you're the deli owner, you would have to collect... what's the HST in Ontario? 13%.
Yeah.
Correct.
Of which 6 of that is provincial, 7 of that is federal, or vice versa?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And you would have to then remit that as part of your taxes at the end of the whatever period you remit your taxes on, whether that's a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. Now they're going to increase that to $20. So your rotisserie chicken stays the same because inflation hasn't affected you yet. It's still a really good rotisserie chicken. You don't have to collect those taxes, whereas right now you would be, because it would be greater than $4. This is one of their many election promises. As a business owner, it doesn't matter to you. It's just pass-through money. Okay,
so as this stands, they don't have to pay on it. They can still collect on it?
No. If it's over $4, you collect HST. If it's under $4, you don't. If you collect the HST, you just give it to the government.
Yeah.
You as a business don't get to benefit from the HST.
No, you're the one that collects it, but ultimately, when it comes time for you to do your business taxes, they look at that and go, okay, you've had X number of purchases and X amount of tax paid on it.
You sold a chicken, you owe us $1.50.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if, for once, government made sense.
No, they're
No.
outsourcing their
No,
tax
no.
collection.
I know. I've been
If
drinking. I was
anything-
getting all excited.
This is a chance for business owners to get a little bit greedy, and if they are just under the $20 threshold, they can go to $19.99 and collect more money for the item, but the end user will still pay marginally less.
Because the end user is not paying the taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would
And
be
end
so
user
few.
and business.
Yeah.
Like both parties are sort of
talking-
capitalizing to a certain
If I
extent. Because
If I understand this correctly, it's per food item. So even if your bill comes out to be $120, if it's prepared food per item, if all the items on that, say, I'm assuming this would apply to restaurants as well.
Yes, my understanding is it applies to restaurants. It's prepared
you make-
food.
If you make
But
all
we're
your
also
portion
implying
sizes,
we're also implying though that government actually applies this to prepare food at a restaurant.
Well, and that the
not a
restaurant
takeout
or
menu
grocery
at
store
your
will also
regular
apply it
grocery
correctly,
store.
which that's its whole own thing.
wasn't it, if I remember
So
correctly,
does
there's
this apply
there
to
was an outcry
McDonald's?
about that a couple years back, where I think it was Loblaws or someone was charging HST on stuff that they shouldn't have been. But
Right, like,
I
so-
mean,
Loblaws and a number of grocers have
Yeah.
had this problem where they're charging because sales taxes on certain goods in the province of Ontario, and I'm sure this is true in other provinces, gets to be very confusing because
Yeah.
products for babies do not get taxed, except like their clothes or something that does.
No,
But
no.
formula and diapers do not. And certain food gets taxed with PST but not GST, so you pay the provincial sales tax but not the harmonized sales tax. And it becomes very confusing, and this is why we have accountants to deal with all of this stuff. But you're
And
right, there was
also,
there was a
like,
case a number of
changes-
years ago where Loblaws was not doing it
Wait,
completely in line with how the government suggested you
Well,
collect.
part of that though is like the problem is the rules and regulations keep changing as more parties make different promises that they keep or don't keep. And you have to go to a software vendor that is going to correctly have the software to do the taxes that you need. And as a business owner, it's pain in the dick enough having all of the different provinces' tax codes correctly in there, but then having to apply that to different, like if you own a chain of grocery stores across the country, you now have to have all of the different provinces and all of the different like nuanced things where like this is considered a child product here but not here. And so like you may not just have the capability, not that I'm excusing the people from doing it because the burden's on you, but, like,
Taxes are hard, and this is why we have accountants.
it becomes incredibly difficult sometimes to stay on top of all of this stuff and somewhat cost prohibitive because you just made a change and now there's another change and now you got to go to your software vendor and tell them that this thing is now not a thing in this area but it still is in this one, so please fix my program, here's 10 grand. You know, like it just becomes ridiculous to manage all of this, right? Which is why
Well,
flat
before
tax
we go-
is so much better, but or no tax.
Before we go too far down that rabbit hole, although I do agree about flat taxes, and maybe that's a thing worth talking about at some point. The Ontario Liberals followed this up a few days later with $1 transit fares with a buck a ride program across the province. This is in also the Ottawa Sun.
That sounds an awful lot like a Doug Ford promise.
Well,
That's
I
what
think that was
Ottawa
exactly what it was they were taking a play on the buck a beer and doing a buck a ride.
except that the buck of beer doesn't cost the taxpayers anything.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
yeah,
not saying.
and this
It's
is
like
going
what you
to-
really need to fucking understand is yes, it's $1 when you get on there, but you're gonna get ass raped way more.
No,
Sand and
no,
salt
Pierre.
So,
as a taxpayer.
Pierre, do you ride the bus?
No, but I still fucking
No,
pay
no, no,
for it if they put it
it's
at
a-
$1.
Right. So if you rode the bus, you wouldn't be getting the non-consensual butts play that's going on.
No, you still.
But
would
as a
because
person
you
who
pay tax.
does not ride the bus,
No.
you get the non-consensual government butt stuff.
yeah,
No,
if you're
but even
riding
if you
it,
ride the bus, right? You're
yeah, but
taxed-
you benefit
so
from
if you-
it, right? Because
If
you're
you
paying
take
for
the
it anyway.
bus to go to work and be contributing member, to society and pay your taxes and actually do something. Like I understand the concept. If you want to live, say, in the butthole, and you can get on the bus,
Well,
and the bus will take
I-
20 minutes to get to work.
I think
but
that
if
the
you were to
butthole bus is
personally drive-
exactly the group of people that they are targeting with this because
Right.
Well,
I don't know if you've tried to ride the transit in anywhere other than the butthole. Ottawa Transit's not awful.
not much
Toronto
better.
Transit covers pretty well everything, and for the most part, all the time. Like the Blue Line routes are not the most accessible, but at least they run 24/7.
Well, but this is the thing.
I mean, so how many people take transit to go across town to go do something inappropriate, to get $20 to take transit back to go buy narcotics because they did the sucky for $20, right?
I mean,
most
maybe
people taking transit are going to and from work because they've taken the cost analysis and realizing, hey, gas, vehicle maintenance.
No, I wouldn't even make it that argument. Most people that are using transit either cannot afford a car or live in a large urban center like Toronto.
Right.
Can't
So
find parking.
that as well as taking the cost assessment in, right? So okay, fine. You want to take that down?
Not saying there's not. And if this applies to things like the GO train, which it says it does,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, dollar GO train, I could see people commuting in more and using the 401 less for that.
Yeah, but so me, I don't have the 401 or the GO train, and that's going to start costing me money. I have
no, and it's not like you're going to customer sites if you're riding the GO train. But if you were working in, I don't know, somewhere in downtown Toronto, pick a part of downtown Toronto that I hate. Literally any part. Perfect. I hate that part. That's good.
Downtown. Just
Yes,
Toronto.
all of it. The entire butthole.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. If you have somewhere where you can walk to the GO train and go on the GO train and walk to work, and you don't do it because you just don't like public transportation, but they changed that to $1 a thing, so you decide to get rid of a second vehicle, this, that, or whatever. Okay, fine. It could be cost effective where you can save even $20 a month is $20 a month. That'll get you like what, half a liter of gas by the time this comes into effect.
Like 6 beers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
6 packs about $20, right?
I'm not against this, but
I mean, it would be $6 if Doug Ford had made that happen.
Well, he did. It just immediately
I
reversed it because excise taxes.
Yeah.
But where I live in general, I don't even have the option of public transportation. So now I'm paying for someone else to capitalize on this.
Well, this is the part that
But I want OC Transpo out in the middle of fuck nowhere where I live, where there's only we had a power outage. There was less than 500 people affected for 2 days. And if I show you the map of the screenshot I took, it's a lot bigger than you think for 500 people to be affected.
Well,
this is the part where I have a problem with this is, okay, it's $1 a ride for people that live in Toronto. Great. What about the rest of the province? What about everybody that lives in Timmins and Thunder Bay and not in the GTA, not in Ottawa?
What about Hearst? Cochrane.
What about
where
Hearst?
I live?
What about Hearst?
They're saying that this is going to cost $1 billion if they do this. The government needs $1 billion to make this happen. And they're supposing that it would take 400,000 cars off the road each day.
Which I do not believe. I do not believe that at all, because again, I come back to most people that are using public transit are people that are not choosing to not drive their car. They're using public transit because they don't have a car or because they live in the butthole and public transit is just significantly more cost effective or convenient.
Yeah.
So
when I first started,
when I started construction, I was working for a couple months driving down. I was actually working across the street from what's it called? The Rogers Center. So right by the I could have taken the train
really downtown. So a lot of
really
intravenous
downtown.
Drug use and other undesirable elements.
One day I wake up, I'm like, you know what? Let me try taking the TTC today. I'm getting ready, whatever. I'm like, you know what? No, I don't feel like it today. I'm gonna actually drive. I end up driving. What do you know? That day, TTC was down. If I'd taken the subway, I would have been a couple hours late to work. I never thought of taking TTC again, because when you have to depend on someone else.
Well,
and that's why I'm
you're not depending on government enough.
Well, but the people that are taking transit are doing so because they don't have a choice, or if they were to commuting into the city and trying to find parking and all of those things, which is literally the only time I really use transit. Yeah. It's because it's just
parking downtown in the butthole is awful.
And it would cost exponentially so much more than taking the transit. But I mean, I was just trying to pull up what my transit rates are right now. So for my area, it's $4 a ride, $3 if you have the the Presto card thing because they're.
You know what, the one thing out of all of this, and I don't think $1 billion, this doesn't make any sense. And I mean, obviously, I as a person who can literally not take public transit to go to my job because there isn't any, much like the situation Pierre finds himself in. Yeah. We are not able to commute to our jobs because it's just not feasible. It's not possible. There is no public transit for people like us. People like us? You people again. There is no public transit for people like Pierre and I.
Yeah. But so also the problem I have is, so Gavin said, what, 400,000 vehicles off the road?
Yeah, where do they
get every day it says. The one thing that I will take from this, the one thing that I will take from this that is a benefit, and I will go and find my CF81 card, they are going to give veterans free rides on the bus. So the government will finally give me something for my veteran status.
But so 400,000 vehicles off the road a day. Yeah. So let's take that $400,000 of, okay, let's say gas, maintenance. So the taxes you pay on maintenance, the taxes you pay on gas, putting that 400,000 vehicles off of how many working days in a year? Let's say all these 400,000 are government jobs, right? They only work, what, 200 days a year? Not including weekends, not including vacations, statutory holidays, whether it be federal or provincial, right? So at that point, it's going to cost $1 billion. I have a feeling if you did the math, you would have
they're going to lose a lot more on the back end
taxes than those.
If
you're paying at least, so let's say 400,000.
Exactly.
Vehicles.
If I don't need
you're
to
getting
trade my car to
$1
work
a day per person out of taxes, whether it be gas, maintenance, or insurance on their vehicle.
And I just
anything else.
The biggest reason that I would never take transit to work, driving my car. I mean, yes, but like driving my car, I can get there in 20 minutes right now. It would take me an hour and 10 minutes to take transit. And I have a fairly direct route.
Ooh, Gavin's about to do my favorite logical fallacy.
Like,
okay, so this is probably completely an aside. My absolute favorite logical fallacy is time is money. And if I use my time, I can make more money. This is only true if you're actually using your time to make money. If you're driving,
I'm not
you're sitting on the bus,
making money. It's just time wasted. Like,
well, and that's is it time wasted? You could listen to an audiobook for 2 hours and 20 minutes a day by taking the bus.
Or I could
but you're stuck on a bus for 2 hours instead of driving for 20 minutes.
But you could listen to so many more audiobooks.
But I could do that anyways.
Also, so there is this very.
Or I could just like
boss.
I know. I despise this logical fallacy, and you're like right around the edge of it. I'm not saying you're doing it. It's right around the edge of it. Is like this
time is money.
This wasted time fallacy. Time is money, and yes, but only if you're doing something productive with the time.
Yeah. So and sometimes resting is productive because I need it so that I don't go insane and kill people.
So you should ride the bus and listen to an audiobook.
Or I could literally do anything else.
I would much rather be in control of my own ability to go places. The way they're making it so cheap is by making monthly passes $40. That's how they're going to pull that off.
But how do they even do that? Because like, if they're saying that it's just going to be $40 everywhere, I imagine that the cost of a monthly pass in my area versus everyone else's area is probably close to the same, but not the same. So if they're just coming in blanket saying $40 for a monthly pass, some places are going to be subsidized heavier than others and everything else. And like, it doesn't make any sense. And their numbers don't add up. And this is stupid.
Well, if you want to make, before we transition off to the next thing, if you want to make even less sense, we should look at the Ndp Transit Plan, where the Ndp is going to subsidize half of the operating cost of transit systems. And they're relying on the municipality to reduce the fare price. Fuck, I want what they're smoking.
Yeah.
So in Toronto,
I could probably get that. I know some people.
A 12-month pass is $143. I would assume that's per month. Because then the monthly pass is $156. You
must be buying the entire year in advance. You're getting like buy 11, get one free kind of a thing.
Yeah, but
But
at that point,
also,
how many
F word
just-
Toronto. I can't imagine we have a lot of listeners from Toronto. Sorry for both of you that do.
Yeah. Escape
But
while
no,
you
but
can.
like
I can think
That's-
of 2 people that live there.
I can think of more people than that. I'm just sure they don't listen to the show.
Yeah.
But-
I'm just talking about
Escape-
people that potentially are on the show from time to time.
So
there's-
we
there's
should
no one
we should
there.
discuss, I think, which way I'm going to vote because I need to be influenced by my peer group. And I also want to talk about the new Blue Party, and that may be relevant to which way I vote. But starting with that, CBC's got a poll tracker running. The CPC Poll Tracker seems to historically be reasonably accurate. It pulls data from a bunch of sources. It heavily favors Ipsos polls, but I don't know. It's done well the last couple of elections because I keep using it. So we'll see what CBC says.
So we're looking at a 89.7% chance that the Conservatives win. Progressive Conservatives win a majority.
Yes, which I think is going to happen. They're not going to win the
Yeah.
popular vote, I don't think, but because it doesn't matter, because seats,
Yeah.
I do think that the progressive conservatives will get the seat count that they need. Because I think right now they're tending towards something like 78 seats in Parliament.
Yeah.
And I mean,
God, he really does look like a giant walking penis. Sorry, just looking at his photo here next to the
Ford or
percentage.
DeLuca?
Yes. But
Okay.
Ford looks like the one that takes it. Just on the small
sure
little.
they all do. Yeah, I would say that's. I mean, my guess would be that the Conservatives win it again. I'm sad to see that
honestly-
the Liberals are going to gain some seats.
I am surprised. What do you mean they're going to gain some seat? They're being projected at one seat right now.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm reading the wrong thing then. No, I'm good
You
with that
might be
then.
looking at the popular vote, and this is where things get confusing because the liberals are talking about like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say the liberals. CBC is projecting liberals at about 20% of the popular vote, or one seat.
I'm good with that. They won't even need the minivan anymore. Just ride a motorcycle.
We can get those fuckers a smart car.
They want an e-bike. Yeah, they can ride that in.
A bike in the middle of, like no.
I don't know. I'm a little bit worried that the NDP are doing that much better than the liberals. Not that they've not currently in a better position than liberals seat count wise.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me though with the ads they've had around and the things they're talking about.
Well,
Like NDP is just like the semi sort of weird, cool.
But
cousin
anyone
of the
that
Liberals.
lived through Ray days should know better than to trust the NDP.
Yeah, but no, but
What's
they've
Ray
changed.
Days?
Indoctrination.
It's been so long, they've changed.
Benny,
Like, that's-
I forget sometimes that you're younger than everyone else. Okay,
How much
so at
younger is he?
one time in Ontario, Bob Ray was the premier. That was the early 90s?
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, like apparently I'm a lot younger than you guys think too. What the fuck?
When was Bob Ray the
90s.
premier of Ontario? Was that
90s.
1990?
Yeah, it was
No,
in
I know
the
it
90s.
was. I know it was the 90s. Was it 1990?
But we're
I'm
talking
trying to
about-
remember when I had Ray days off at school.
I might have.
What's
been
this
out
It
of
would,
Ray
be
date
Day?
for by
the, it would
then.
be the early 90s because I think I was in middle school or mid 90s maybe.
Okay,
I don't
so
think I was
in
in
like
high school yet.
1990, and somebody's going to have to fact check me, but like the election of 1990, Bob Ray was the leader of the provincial New Democratic Party in Ontario. And they ended up slashing basically everything in the 4-5 years that he ran the government of Ontario because they couldn't figure out how to balance the budget, and they ended up schools got closed, the number of healthcare providers got reduced. I think there was a thing with firefighters that they got paid less, or they fired firefighters, they stopped hiring firefighters.
October 1st, 1990.
Buddy, I think I'm as young as Benny as
Wow.
you guys think.
June 26th.
Yeah. No, so apparently
1995.
the NDP back then didn't understand the concept of the budget would balance itself.
They still don't.
I can't fathom that any 30 years ago, 30
Holy
years,
fuck.
Like, the government of Ontario almost folded because we let the NDP be in charge of the government.
But I mean, so I could guarantee that if you talk to 90% of people around you, which I don't know why you would want to from personal experience, would not remember what happened 2 elections ago.
Well, and I feel like this is part of our duty as podcasters on the, I'm going to say, are we a right-wing podcast now? Can we be a right-wing podcast?
I could go get my white cloths if need be.
Pierre's busting out the good tablecloths.
Yes. Well, you never know.
I don't know. I feel like it is our duty to remind our younger listeners, or maybe our listeners that were not politically aware in the early 90s, like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, no,
this is a bad idea. And go look up Bob Ray if you don't believe me. R-A-E. Look up Bob Ray and look up Ray Days. Because the NDP, and maybe they're a different NDP now. They're run by a woman, although maybe Bob Ray identifies as a woman. Has anyone asked him his pronouns lately?
Well, no, back then you weren't allowed. It was not a thing we talked about. 1990, we didn't talk about what you want to be preferred as, which we should go back to.
Well, maybe we should, but my point is more, the NDP has, like most political parties, changed over time. It has been 30 years. Maybe Andrea Horwath is a different leader than Bob Ray is, but also, the government in Ontario nearly folded because they didn't know how to run the government. Why are they polling in a position where they could...
People are dumb.
They are so close to a majority seats in Ontario. I know it's an outside chance of the NDP pulling off a majority, but if they get every seat that they have a strong leaning NDP in, they could get 60 seats. And I think you only need 63, 64 to get a majority government.
If NDP wins, I'm identifying as something different.
I'm one of them purple things with 2 tails and so on.
Yeah, like for 4 years, I'm going to be weird, but like once we get a regular government in, I'll get back to.
But that's I don't think this is the problem, though. I think if we do that, like, could you imagine if we have Trudeau still as leader of the country, and then the NDP as leader of the province? Like, it's bad enough if we get like the walking penis. Could you imagine Andrea Horwath as the premier?
Well, and so this is my thing: is I think Andrea Horwath is more likely than Stephen Del Duca to be.
Yeah.
My money based on the polling right now, Ford takes a majority government, which picking the turd up by the clean end, I'm okay with that. It's not my first choice, but of like the realistic outcomes, I'm least offended by Ford.
Yeah, like if NDP gets in, I don't know if my liver can handle it.
I don't know if my wallet can handle it.
I am certain that mine can't.
Yeah, my wallet can't, but I'm going to be more worried about my liver than my wallet by the end of the 4
my
years.
liver will be fine because we won't be able to afford alcohol.
I'll find a way.
Don't say such things.
No, nothing weird. Get out of there.
We won't be able to, man. You
ever heard of toilet hooch?
Homebrew.
Yeah,
bathtub gin.
Yeah, but you still need to have the disposable income to buy the ingredients to make homemade alcohol, of which we won't have any. Because who do you think is going to get?
I'm literally just going to start growing hops in my backyard.
There's too many people where you can break into someo's house and steal all their sugar, and then go to the next house. And steal
but your neighbor isn't going to be able to afford sugar.
Chris on YouTube brings up a good point. The NDP is currently the government in British Columbia. Look at how that's going. It's awful. Have you seen British Columbia? It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Aren't they in Alberta too?
No, Kenny is running Alberta. He is a conservative of sorts, whatever their United Conservative Party is.
He was running, and then he stepped down. Yeah.
NDP was running Alberta previously, and they got kicked to the curb because, shockingly, they destroyed the economy in Alberta. Which should be impossible given their propensity for natural resources.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Trudeau's busy ruining it now, but previously.
Hey,
was the
Trudeau
NDP.
couldn't find Alberta on a map if you showed it to him.
Yeah, but
No,
he
that's
sure
part of
knows
the
how to
US,
fuck 'em.
isn't it?
Like,
One at a time.
Like
Who
a-
has the talking stick?
Me. It's kind of wood. It's my cup. So Alberta is kind of like Alaska, right? Where it's like with Canada, but it's part of the US, according to Trudeau.
I think he
Isn't
just
it?
doesn't think that it exists. It's just they like skip right over.
Yeah, he
it,
just
stitch
skipped over
together. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah.
you just
it's
cut
part
it
of-
out and stitch the rest of the country back together, kind of
All
like
right.
we do with Quebec.
So I do want to talk about New Blue. I do want to wrap things up here shortly because it's getting close to bedtime. But also we should look at party platform stuff. Progressive Conservatives, the four that I love to hate. $160 billion for core infrastructure, highways, public transit, healthcare, schools over 10 years. $20 billion of that targeted in the next fiscal year.
So how much you want to bet those highways are in the butthole?
Well, that's my next point here. $25 billion for highways, including Highway 413. So the 413 is a hypothetical highway that goes around Toronto, from like Milton to North York, something like that. Milton to Bolton. So it goes around the butthole.
It's going to allow people to avoid going into the city.
That's
Well,
funny.
it just-
Every time I drive into Toronto, Milton is where the 401 like just stops. Get past
Wow,
Milton,
But that's also where the 407 interchange is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which, can we just take a moment to reflect on that? The government that sold the 407 was pants on head retarded.
yeah.
I mean, they used our money to build a highway, and then we have to pay to use the highway.
No, we have to pay a
already paid
company
for.
based in India.
Yeah. Somewhere else.
Yeah, but like they used our tax dollars to build it, and then sold it to a company in India or whatever, and then we now have to pay to use the highway that we have already paid for.
If it pleases the crown, I would like to drive my truck on the roads that I have already been taxed on, with the licenses that I pay fees for,
Yeah.
with the fuel excise
How many-
taxes that I pay every time I fill my truck up.
How many years have you been driving?
I don't know, a lot.
So
18 years,
I
maybe?
feel after a certain point you should get paid. That's just me.
I don't know where we're going. We won't need roads.
Where we're going, there won't be roads.
There won't be vehicles either.
Especially if Horvath wins. Bankrupt the country.
Yeah.
Other assorted nonsense tax credits and so on. NDP, prepare you jimmies. $475 million for pharmacare. So you know those benefits you get when you become an employee and you get your drug benefits plan?
No.
And NDP's like $475 million for pharmacare for all Ontarians. A, not enough money. B, how much you want to bet when I start digging into that? It doesn't include anybody who gets benefits. This is for people who don't have big boy jobs.
Yeah, so it's basically going to just continue to screw businesses and drive them out of the province.
Yeah.
Because I'm still going to have to pay for all of my employees' medical stuff because I was a good employer and gave them benefits programs.
Yeah. Don't worry. There's more exciting ways that the NDP can find to screw you. 10,000 PSWs, personal support workers, and give those personal support workers a $2 an hour raise, hire another 30,000 nurses, and expand credential recognition to bring in 15,000 internationally trained nurses. You remember that time that like the NDP was in charge of Canada or in charge of Ontario, and we drove all the qualified healthcare professionals to the US because we weren't paying them or treating them well? Because that happened in the 90s.
We're still
Under the
doing
NDP and then under the Liberals. Yeah,
No, but this time
that's
it'll
coming
be
back to
different.
bite us.
This time it'll be different.
Well, no, now we're going to get foreign trained nurses instead of Canadian trained nurses, despite having some of the best nurse and doctor training schools in the country being based in Ontario. Looking at you, University of Western Ontario and McMaster. So despite the fact that we can literally make nurses here, we're just going to import a bunch.
And pay them
That'd be
$2
cool.
more an hour.
No, we're paying the PSWs more, not the nurses.
Oh,
Make the nurses
fuck
work
the
in
nurses.
But don't worry,
for a minimum
we're going to
amount of
give everybody more money as long as they're only making minimum wage. NDP, minimum wage going from $16 an hour in 2022, the current year, or I guess the current year plus 5 now, to $20 an hour in 2026. So if you thought your house cost too much fucking money today, wait until they're paying $20 an hour for some kid to flip burgers at McDonald's.
Oh
and
my God.
still not get your shit right.
But that's a different problem.
Can we
Like,
go back to the
fucking,
thing? Like,
hey, I want a double, and I ended up getting a donut shoved in a cup. Like, how'd you fuck that up?
all right, so
I mean, that is a special kind of impressive. There's one more big highlight from the NDP plan. In order to make all of these things affordable, they're going to freeze the income tax for low and middle income residents for 4 years should they become in power. So who's paying for all these programs?
everyone
non-
else.
Me, you,
Yeah.
everyone that's got a big boy job, everybody that's got a full-time salaried position, everybody who's got a skilled trade, a professional career, everybody who is not classed as a low or middle income earner.
I think I have
Remember-
a solution.
Medium income's like $50,000 a year in this province.
I'm gonna just stop paying myself.
Honestly, that's probably the best answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if
then
you can figure it out.
The holding
Yeah.
company will just hold all of my,
Yeah.
and then I can get all of the government programs.
Well, you just
Yes.
have to make minimum wage.
No, I'm gonna just be
No.
completely like destitute, but not.
So I
Yeah.
asked an accountant this because I just didn't understand why no one does this. But apparently, if your company starts to pay for too much, then they just assume that you're using the company to hide your income. So
You just need to get a more crooked accountant.
Yeah, yeah.
You just
I-
need to
we
get
can-
more shade. You just need
Yeah.
to pay more people. I mean, they don't
it
have
wasn't
to
my
exist.
accountant, but that's what
I'm just gonna
that's what I
say
was
this
told.
though, for anyone that is considering, and I don't think there's anyone that's listening to the show that would be considering voting for the NDP unless they're an accelerationist. But for anyone that is legitimately
Crash it.
legitimately
Yeah.
considering voting for the NDP, I just finished reading a book. I think you should all read it. It's Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell. If you know anyone that's voting NDP because they think it's a good idea, please give them that book and get them to read it.
Thomas
But
Sowell's
you're
written a lot of books,
But
and
you're
I
also
haven't read
asking-
nearly enough of them.
This one was very good.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yes.
good. But you're also asking a person that would vote NDP to be able to read something on their own that the government telling them that is a good idea. And they should do
Despite
this
him
for the
being
gooder of
very
society.
educated, there are not many big words, if any at all, in the book.
Are there any pictures?
No, but it's
Good
short.
luck.
And it highlights how a lot of these policies that like governments put in place to help people actually end up hurting people, the very people that you're trying to help. So
Yeah.
maybe people should read it and actually understand how economics work.
That'd be a
I
good
they
don't
idea.
think we can have
Bankrupt the province again.
the vast majority of people aren't going to understand macroeconomics. The vast majority of people don't understand any level of economics.
Yeah,
They don't understand
basic
speeches.
level, like it's so basic you can't
Well,
even
again,
call it macro. It's
You're asking people to read Thomas Sowell, so it's not going to happen. Liberals, Greens, and then I want to talk briefly as we're running out of time about the new Blue Party. Liberal stuff. Rent control for all rental units in Ontario, because fuck landlords.
Yeah.
$1 billion towards clearing the surgical backlog, in not really any sort of clear terms about what that might actually mean. It doesn't say hiring doctors or nurses. It just says
Don't we
giving
already pay for the
hospitals money.
surgical stuff?
yeah, but we're gonna hire more people probably in order to.
It's
do the
unclear how
surgeries
they're
that
going
got
to
put off.
spend the $1 billion. It seems to be around staffing. Raising the minimum wage to $16 an hour and increasing disability payments by 20%. And we already talked about it. Buck a ride.
So if you want to raise everything to $16 an hour, like fine, trust me, I hate inflation. I think it's retarded. But I make above minimum wage as it stands right now. If you want to give $16 an hour, and let's say minimum wage is $14 an hour, that's $2 an hour. Inflation would at that point, or the cost or the price of sorry, not the price, but the percentage of your raise would be what at that point, 14 to 16, give or take.
So just to clarify, minimum wage in Ontario right now is $15 an hour as of the first of this year. And as a percentage, it doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't matter. Everything is going to go up. That's all it comes down to.
Going up a dollar would be a 6% raise. Just
okay. So
on top of this 27% raise that they got a couple of years ago.
So I had this whole discussion with, I want to say my boss or supervisor. Yeah, I know. I guess my boss. I think it was like the very beginning of COVID. So everybody in the company I work for got a dollar raise. There was just like, here's $1. And I was like, okay, I make well above minimum wage. And I was like, okay, so the person getting minimum wage, which I believe was 15 at the time. Yeah, 15.
It'd be 15 as of the first of this year.
Okay, so let's say 14, for example, for that point, right? So they went from 14 to 15. I'm like, so what I went to, which let's say $30 to $31. I'm like, so if you were to think of percentage-wise, I was like, going from 14 to 15 and me going from 30 to 31. I was like, that guy got double the raise I did. If you want to take in a percentage.
That's exactly what happened though, like back when, like before Doug was voted in and Wynn was trying to buy votes and they went from like whatever it was to $14 or something, right? That was a 27% increase for people that were making minimum wage. Imagine if you were to give the people that are slightly above that a 27% increase as well, because you now have boosted people up to above where like some of their co-workers might have been, or very close to where some of them have been because they had been there for a few years in seniority, or they had more responsibility and they weren't, you know, an $11 an hour employee, they were a $14 an hour employee. It screws up the whole pay structure for everybody.
Yeah, and I've had discussions with people because like my pay changed a few years ago and there's this whole mathematical equation, and I'm like, I used to get paid bonuses, but now I don't. But they did the math for my bonus area, which was like a $1 million area, but someone else's area was $2 million. And I was like, you're gonna get paid, like your pay jump is gonna be twice as more than me. And people are like, no, you're wrong. And I was like, it's simple math. Like if you want to use round dollars, I make $1 million area, I'm gonna get $5 a day, $5. And you're a $2 million area, you're gonna get $10. And someone tried to argue with me that I was wrong on my math. And I'm just like, no, like all you're doing, I mean, like, you know what? I say, fuck it. Let's pay everybody a bunch of shit and trash it right now, and we can get back to regular society. Like I'm almost at that point where it's like, yeah, like vote NDP, vote whatever is just gonna crash the fuck out of it, and we can all get back to like normal society where like shit kind of makes sense.
I don't have
I don't think that would work
to do that.
Trader.
I don't think it would work, but I like the idea. Very quickly, the Green Party.
You 6 goats for one.
You don't have goats.
Well, we will need them if we're going to crash it because it's going to go to trade and barter.
Where are you going to keep a goat? Your backyard is a pool.
They can swim.
There's a grass area behind the pool. It's not mine, but like I've got guns, so I can hold it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
anyone can graze there. You're just the first to bring your goats. That's all.
I'll be like Bundy Ranch North. I'll be letting my goats graze on government land.
Oh boy. Green Party very quickly. Green Party very quickly. The Green Party is doing a lot of drugs and spending all of the money. Retrofit 40% of existing Ontario homes and workplaces by 2030 and 100% by 2040. Retrofit for like green energy stuff, climate change, and so on. Environmentally friendly everything. Half carbon pollution by 2030 and reach net zero by 2045. because that is somehow possible if you phase out new gas and diesel passenger vehicles, medium-duty trucks, buses, and bring in a $10,000 rebate for electric vehicles.
So
Cover 1 year of college tuition for 60,000 people who want to work in quote-unquote green jobs.
what does that imply?
This is
What,
so
like growing weed?
so pie in the
Turning the province's chief medical officer of health position into an independent watchdog role like an auditor, and bringing back the office of the environmental commissioner, and boosting home care spending by 20%, setting a base wage of $25 an hour for personal support workers, and setting up a basic income pilot program for unpaid family and community caregivers.
So because I'm not a PSW, I don't get $25 an hour.
No, they're just trying to give them more money.
Oh,
For some reason, PSWs, I guess, don't get paid enough, which I feel like every profession and everyone says that about their job. I've always made that argument. Like, during my annual review every year, I get my raise, and I always say, that's it.
I own my own business and I don't get paid enough.
Right, and that's why I feel like everybody always makes that argument, because all of my employees say that. I say that.
yeah,
I don't
say that.
You know what would help with that? Not getting the fucking inflation to go ridiculously high every year. Like,
Well, we should just pay everyone more, and then they'd be able to afford. Oh wait, the price of housing is up almost 200% in the last 2 years. I was hoping we'd talk about the Blue Party, the new Blue Party, but I don't think we're going to. They're being billed as a right of center party. They are an offshoot of the Conservatives. I think the couple that founded it's a husband and wife that are based in Ontario. I think he got kicked out of the Conservative caucus. Is that how that worked?
yeah, I believe that's what started it all, is that they were conservative, kind of like the whole Bernier
No,
thing,
sorry,
but on
I
a
said
provincial
London.
level.
They're based out of Cambridge. That's a lie. I'm telling lies to our listeners.
Yeah, same idea as the Bernier thing. They were conservatives. They got booted out of the thing because they actually held somewhat mildly conservative values and things.
I can honestly say I don't know enough about him to comment, but like if you guys say it's good, I'm good. I'm kind of a
Well,
sheeple
so
that
and
way.
this is where like we start getting into the conversation about vote splitting again, right? Like,
Yeah.
and do you want to pick the turd up by the clean end, or do you want to vote your conscience? Because voting
Well,
your conscience could.
I seriously think that there are some other parties. There's the Marxist-Leninist Party. I think they're running candidates. There's the Communist Party, which is running candidates.
The clean end, not the dirtiest end of the turd. Andrew. The clean end.
Well, there are options other than. Sorry, say again.
The Christian Party, don't they show up every once in a while?
Christian Heritage Party runs in Ontario, and yes, they are an option in many ridings. New Blue is running a full slate of candidates. They have I forget how many ridings there are in the province of Ontario. 238 sounds right, but I could be lying to our listeners. Again, I have been known to do that. There are a number of options, and I don't know that any of them are particularly good.
But
this is the problem.
If you look at the
like,
CBC polling, right, you have the PC, NDP, Liberal, Green, and then other. So all those other parties.
Well, and I mean, those are the big four, but I mean, really, it's the big three plus the Green Party. For some reason, we treat the Green Party like they're a serious party. I don't know why we treat this. I mean, I don't know why the media party treats the Green Party like a serious party.
So vote for the
they
one
hold
that'll
one
at least-
seat federally, and they might hold one seat in the province right now.
Yeah, Guelph, I think, is the only one that they get it. Yeah. But
But
I think it's just they've been around long enough.
it's an ode to David
The
Suzuki.
Communist Party has been around since, I want to say, 1926.
I mean,
So
yes.
if we're strictly going by age, that doesn't
I know,
hold
but it
water.
looks bad because you can't do the whole like pinko commie threat thing for so long and then put them on the thing, right? Even though that's the way we're headed.
I do like the none of the above party. I think that their name is funny. I have no idea about their ideology. Also the Freedom Party, the Electoral Reform Party. There's a number of single issue parties. The New Blue is at least running a full slate of candidates.
It'd be interesting if we were to get like an electoral reform party in provincially. I mean, I'd have to see like what their platform is and how they actually plan to reform the election process. But it'd be interesting, given that that was one of Trudeau's promises federally. If somehow we could get away from first past the post provincially,
I think
it'd be
you'd have
interesting to see how that would all play out.
I mean,
think you'd have
direct
more
democracy
luck.
is the best kind of democracy, and monarchies are the best form of government.
And if we must be fascist, let's be eco-fascists.
I mean, eco-fascism is the best kind of
Which
fascism.
is probably
It's-
why we're still have the Green Party on the thing.
so
they're not
Right.
even they're not even fascist. They're just bad at economics.
we should wear more
Well,
cotton and not leather.
No,
leather's
cotton is-
fine. It's
no,
a
no.
renewable resource. That's
More hemp.
totally fine.
Cotton
Yeah,
is a
okay.
terrible choice. If you gone hiking wearing cotton, it's awful. You sweat. It doesn't dry right. You get
Yeah.
all the.
It's good for sleeping in, but
It's-
not so much for anything else.
Now we understand.
All right. So, having not talked about the New Blue Party at all, we're all agreed that that's a terrible choice. So, if you want to make a terrible choice,
I think
voting
if-
your
if
conscience.
If you want to vote
Crash
your
it.
conscience,
Crash it.
you vote-
Crash it.
mean,
I don't know.
depending
There's
on
stuff
where
in the
your
New Blue
conscience
Party
lies.
platform that I do like some of the stuff in their platform. I don't think I care for the person that's running their party very much or his wife.
And I don't think they actually have a hope of winning.
No, not
It's
even
vote
at
splitting.
all.
is what
But I
it
don't
is.
know if it's vote splitting to the point where it actually would make a difference.
Well, it'd be the same as voting, the People's Party, right? Where it's like
That was
it's
just
vote
the,
splitting, but was it vote splitting enough that it actually made a difference?
And in some ridings, maybe it does, but in the vast majority of ridings, it probably doesn't matter.
I don't know. I'm still of the opinion that the People's Party was just the Libertarian Party rebranding.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
I can see why you'd say that, but that's not true because the Libertarian Party is still a thing, and those guys are not. Having gone with Marty to eat chicken wings with them once, they are not a good time.
But I think that's the Libertarian Party has been, co-opted by the left and degenerates that just want to.
I mean, all of the parties have been co-opted by the left. We don't have a right-wing party in this province, and I think I could make a solid argument that we don't have a right-wing party in this country.
No,
Should we
have
make a new one?
Slightly
CPP?
less left-leaning.
Right, but like center is not right-wing.
No, and
We
even
we do not have a socially conservative option, and we do not have a fiscally conservative option.
No.
We're all
Just
going to crash the
slightly
plane at
less,
slightly
yeah.
different rates.
So
And
should
the Green Party will do it while they're on massive amounts of drugs.
Yeah,
fuck your goat.
basically.
Fuck your couch.
So if you're an accelerationist, voting green is probably where you really want to be and not NDP. But the NDPs probably have a better chance of winning versus the Greens. Just saying.
Yeah.
But either way,
I don't know. I might not even vote, which maybe is not a great thing to say, but
Yeah.
like this province is so fucked.
yeah.
Vote for the one that'll at least buy you a drink before putting the pills in your drink and waking up.
Yeah, but I mean, like the choices here are Del Duca and Ford, and I don't want to get roofied by either of those guys.
Yeah.
I agree, but I mean, hopefully one of
I don't
them
know.
leaves before you wake up and realize what happened. You just wake up with a sore butt.
It's like tax day all over again.
Yeah.
Next week, we should talk about book club.
Well,
Last Monday of the month, as is our current tradition, the last Monday of the month is book club. This month, we're going to do Clockwork Orange. If you haven't started reading it yet, you're like me. But you still have time. I'm still on chapter 2, guys. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time with this book.
Yeah, it's a hard book.
It's not good.
No.
Very
But
difficult to read.
it's a cult classic, guys.
Just because it's
Well-
a classic doesn't make it good. Jacques Cartier
Who wants
was
to be
a
Paul over
classic.
Carl?
Yeah, but at least he choked the shit out of that guy in Shawinigan.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's a classic. Doesn't mean he was good. Fine, he had his perk, but
The June book, we're going to be doing 48 Laws of Power, and in July, we haven't picked a book yet, but it's probably gonna be something from Canadian military history, because we're going to do a Canadian book. This is July.
So feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Yeah, if
Send us
you
your
have
Canadian military.
I have a couple that I've shortlisted. Peter and I have been talking about like some solid Canadian military books.
Yeah, I've got one or two as well.
I mean, I would not be opposed to any of them, but like Unflinching is probably a good one. We may even be able to get Jody on the show. I'm not making promises to listeners, but
no, I'd be willing to do Unflinching, or I've got General Rick Hillier's book on my to read list. It's sitting in the pile of books in my living room that I haven't gotten to yet. I'd like to read that one from a leadership perspective. There's a bunch of books there.
Nothing from a current thing.
Her name escapes me now. What's that French girl? She moved out west. She's got a book about having been in Afghanistan. She got like PTSD.
I don't know.
She was on Jocko like 2-3 months ago.
Oh yeah. The one that does the brass and unity, the jewelry stuff.
Brass and Unity. Yeah, I can't think of the woman's name. I have a copy of her
either.
book that I want to read as well.
Yeah. But nothing from current military brass, because that will just all be about sexual harassment. That we're going to avoid that.
Yeah, no.
We don't need
anybody
to
who made
have
general
senior-
after Hillier with CDS is just barred from having books.
Yeah.
And also being near playgrounds.
Yeah.
And people.
And the women's locker room.
Likely.
Doesn't that apply to everybody who's
No.
a man?
No.
I mean, but
Not
we
until
just
you-
wouldn't
not
be
until
there
you
to
get
begin
caught.
with. We just
I
wouldn't
mean,
be
we don't
there
need to
begin
be.
with.
There's no rule that's okay. Fine, I understand now.
It's one of those things. It's like you shouldn't have to have a rule that says no adults without kids around the playground. But we live at a time and place where you need to have that, unfortunately.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Outro. Discord. We're on Discord. I mentioned it earlier. There's a link in the show notes. If you want to come hang out with us, you can get on the Discord server and talk crap with all of your friends and enemies throughout the day. We'll go in the same order I think that we did the What Are We Drinking segment in. I'll start with Gavin. Where can everybody find you?
The best place to find me is on the Instagram, CervexGTA.
You can find me at thepackcanada.ca. We just got in some pistol cleaning kits and some cable locks.
If you want a t-shirt or most of the stuff that requires someone to do something, off the wall customizing at Gmail, or if you listen to us on Mondays and you have a really good computer, you can probably see my own Instagram thing right over my shoulder here. You're on there. But yeah, you can follow stuff. I don't post anything, but I got some stuff on there. You never know.
If you've listened to the show this long, you definitely deserve a discount code. When you're shopping at Ragnarok Tactical, you can literally take food out of my child's mouth. RagnarokTactical.ca. Use the discount code PATRIOT when you check out. Save yourself some money. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't get Rod on the show this week. There is CCFR provincial elections going on for your leadership for the various provinces. I voted in on the Ontario election. I will not spoil my ballot by telling you who I voted for. But I did vote in the Ontario election, for that is the province in which I reside. And that was a much less difficult choice than who I'm going to vote for in the actual provincial election. Rod is, of course, busy individually counting the ballots as they've been returned by the internet.
Yeah, no,
You
we
couldn't
don't
get on
want,
the show
like,
this week.
A Biden fiasco there. No, he's hand counting each one.
That's right. If you want to send us feedback, you can do that. Drop us an email, feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know how we disagree with your worldview. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.